Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Sunday, 6th of October 2024. It's 11:27 a.m. and I'm doing my regular Sunday trip to see Liz at the hospital. Just left home, fed the pussycats. I had real trouble getting up this morning. Real trouble. It's probably going to rain today. This is my first video with the new DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. Normally in the car I use the Action 4. Road ahead closed. Oh dear. I will continue to use the Action 4. It's in my vlogging bag as we speak, but I have connected my remote control to the Action 5 and this white DJI Mic 2 to the Action 5. Items that were previously connected, linked, paired with the Action 4. I can still use the Action 4 for, time-lapse, B-roll footage. I can still use it, basically. It's not, Just trying to justify myself buying this new gadget, you see. Right, what's going on with this road? There's a half marathon. Okay, I'm going to have to turn around. Okay. Did not know that. Right, let's do a 17-point turn then. Basingstoke half marathon. This road is closed until 2:45. Did not know that. Oh well. Never mind. We'll find another way to go and see Liz. Well, we'll not find another way. There are many other ways. That explains why there were two ladies walking down with a sign saying go something go. Go name go. They're obviously encouraging somebody on. Oh well. A lovely view down there. Rolling English countryside. Anyway, I've been having these recurring dreams for the last, I don't know how long, 6 months or so at least. Feels like longer, but I don't know for sure. Let's say 6 months. Gotta go past this running lady again now. I just asked Alexa to play Thus Sprak Zarathustra, and it played me the most god-awful version you could imagine by some kind of like Philadelphia marching band or something. God, it was terrible. Anyway, recurring dreams. I have a couple of recurring dreams, and I can recognise certain elements pulled from reality. The first recurring dream is that I either live or my friend lives in this massive house with enormous grounds, like loads of different like fields and different environs and stuff like that. you know, like lakes and fields and flower beds and stuff. But like, there's like rooms around, there's like a corridor running around the outside of particularly the upper floor, and there's loads and loads and loads and loads of different rooms, some of which haven't been in for years, some of which the windows are open, people haven't occupied or been in those rooms for years, right? And there's always like a new room to kind of discover or explore. And in one corner there's like turreted rooms, and for some reason my mum stays in one of them, don't know why. And but in the middle there are also rooms in the middle, and it's like it's not a maze, but it's just like there's places that you can kind of get lost and kind of just, you know, chill. And it's like I like kind of big buildings and places where you can just kind of go and hide from the world, right? I used to work at this office block in Portsmouth, and it was a 13-storey office block. And initially I worked on floor 4, but 2 floors down, right in the corner, there was a library of like law books and legal stuff, and no one ever used to go there. And when I wasn't busy, I would go down there and just kind of sit there and chill out. And it was right next to the road and overlooked, and people were walking underneath, and it was really cool. It was like a little sort of sanctuary, and I liked that a lot. Anyway, in this dream, I can't remember the specifics of what was happening in the dream, just that I keep going back to this house, and there are sort of lounges and very comfortable rooms and things that you can just kind of hide in and explore and find antiques and treasures and memories and photos and things like that, you know? And yeah, it's just kind of, it's like this place I go to, and I know where that's come from. That my friend Philip, when I was at school, Wollaston Junior School, which was like this old country school in Wollaston in Gloucestershire, had the old desks with the inkwells in, the ones that you lift up, but they were facing each other. So if somebody had their hand, if they lifted their desk and had their hand, we would smash their fingers with the other desk because we were little shits. Anyway, my friend Philip, his dad was a funeral director, and they had this massive house, and upstairs, like, to get to Philip's room, you kind of like went through this kind of like windy corridor. And I kind of know, like, they had this massive dining room that was never used, and this house has like elements of that in it, and I think I know where that's from. This is just the idea of this massive house. I particularly like the idea of like being in a massive house or a building or a ship, or, you know, where there's like a storm outside and you can kind of think, oh yeah, I'm so lucky to be so nice and cozy in this house, you know, and the wind's battering and you're all sort of battened down, and you might have a window open every now and then just to remind yourself how lucky you are. But it's kind of, I like the idea of massive structures like that, just where you can just kind of hide from the world. The other dream I'm having lately involves this huge car park, and this car park's set into a hill, and there are multiple ways of getting into this car park. The main entrance is at the top, so you have to go up the hill and get in. But like in the car park, there are like really narrow kind of roadways. But the car park itself isn't one. It's like it has a central kind of spine of this really narrow road with bits of car park that, you know. So like off to one side there'll be a car park of like 100 spaces. Off to the other side there'll be another 100 spaces in their own little square, and it'll be like that. But to get to all these bits, there's 2 police cars there parked at the station. But to get to all these bits, you have to kind of drive through this really windy, narrow road thing that is barely wide enough. There's certainly no room to pass, and it's incredibly easy to get lost in this car park, right? And there are multiple levels of this car park as well. And like, there's a particularly aggressive guy or person on the front desk who never lets you in if you know. Never lets you in if you're on foot. It's bizarre, right? I can't explain this dream at all. On the lower level of this car park, there are certain areas or rooms that are always deserted, like big chunks of car that you can only ever get into one way. You can go through the door. That road's closed and that road's closed, so I'm going to have to go via hook. You can like go through a door or an entrance into these bits of the car park, but you can't get out again. You have to like leave the car park, and it's bizarre. And last night, I remember specifically last night, we were in this car park and my car had gone missing, and it was something to do with Liz. Liz had to go somewhere for an appointment, and we were on a holiday, and we'd had a really long drive the night before, and we'd parked in this car park, and I had to get her to an appointment, and I couldn't find my car. And we were ringing the car. Don't know why. The car had its own phone. Old car phone, I guess. We were ringing the car, and we were like trying to find my car, and it was getting increasingly frantic. And it turns out that they'd moved my car onto the back of a truck, a low loader, and we don't really know why. But I couldn't find the car, and it was like weird. And look, beyond that, I can't really explain this dream. I really can't. But this car park and this house are like recurring places that I go back to in my dreams. And I don't often remember the dreams for long after I've woken up. This one has particularly stuck in my head, and it's not something I dwell on when I'm awake, but when I go back to these places, it's like, oh yeah, I've been here before. I guess the connection between the two is massive buildings that are like mazes. I also dream about, there's this building called Zurich House, which is like curved. It's now a student accommodation, but I worked in that building. It was owned by Zurich Insurance. I worked there for 10 years. The reason it was curved is because the road was curved. Okay, it was all glass. It was a lovely place to work. I often dream about that building as well. This is the same building that had the library room in it that I was talking about. And I have dreams there. In particular, the dreams are always around the fact that it's being refurbished, or bits of, or certain levels of the building have been sold off to other companies, and the lifts are never working, or only a couple of the lifts are working, not all of them, right? But I had a dream once where I went to the roof, and the roof had an entire town up there with roads and streets and everything. And then there was a shopping level, and it was like the size of these levels were like 100 times bigger than the actual building ever was. It's quite a big building, but even so. But I liked working there. That was in the 90s. I miss the 90s, right? People go on about the 60s. The 90s were my 60s, right? So I moved in with my grandma. I eventually got some money out of the house that my stepfather wasn't paying the mortgage on, although I lost most of my money. And I bought a house with Tom. Tom was what I call my semi-cousin. So my Uncle Paul, who was third of the 4 sons that my grandma had, my dad being the first, Mark being the second, Paul was the third, Jonathan was the 4th. Paul married a lady called Lynn, who had Tom from a previous marriage. And Tom and I, for some reason, because I always think I was a bit of a dick back then. I probably still am. Anyway, we bought a house together. I think I paid for the deposit with what's left of my money. But anyway, we bought this house together. Mortgage, everything. I had the front bedroom, he had a back bedroom, we had a computer room down at the back with loads of LAN networked computers. We'd play games. Our front living room was also a haven to technology, big TV, multi-disc CD changer, yeah, right? Anyway, what's the point I was making? Anyway, that was the 90s, right? The 90s were bloody brilliant. The music, it was those were the days where I was drinking socially, and we'd go out a couple of times a week with people from work, and that was like party time, right? And if there was ever a house party, it was usually at our house, Tom and Andrew's house, or Andrew and Tom's house, whatever, however you want to put it. And we were the party house, and like every year when we get to New Year's Eve, we're like 1 year further away from the 90s. The 90s were fucking brilliant. I wasn't married, I had no kids, I was free, I had a job, good job, still got a good job, but like, man, I miss the 90s. We even had the internet in the 90s, you know. Obviously we're not as technologically advanced then as we are now, but we had a lot of stuff. The 90s were bloody great. I really missed the 90s. Anyway, the 90s is when I worked in this big building, you see. It was like a community. I like having this sense of belonging somewhere. But it has to be on my terms, right? But I kind of like belonging somewhere. Sorry, this is a real ramble this morning. I really am living up to the name Total Ramblings today. It's also very cold in this car. It's 16 degrees. I always keep it cold in my car because otherwise there's a danger I might fall asleep. And basically I have to keep it cold. If it's too warm, if I'm too comfortable in the car, I will fall asleep. So I keep it cold. It keeps me awake. So, having to go through Hook to go and see Liz because there's this half marathon. I think coming back will be fine because I won't be coming back till about 7 o'clock. But I didn't realise the road was going to be closed today. Never mind. Clive probably knew, but he's got no vocal cords, and so he can't talk to me. Can you, Clive? No. I like having Clive here. Anyway, I'm probably going to shut up for a bit. Right, so it's 6:30 and we're now leaving Liz. I have put this DJI Action 5 Pro into super night mode. Now this is a very realistic scenario for me to be recording video because I have done it a few times with the DJI Action 4 in the car late at night and you don't really see my face. And I'm looking at this now and it's looking pretty clear to me admittedly on this very tiny screen. So let's see how this does. This is obviously, as I say, this is a real life scenario and we're getting to winter now. So more and more of my driving is going to be done at night. Yeah, so I think you can at least see my face. It's better than like the blackness of the other one, but let's see how this comes out in the edit. Yeah, I'm wondering what to have for tea, and here's an important thing that I need to make people people aware of. In Basingstoke, where I live, I don't call it my hometown, I just happen to live there. My hometown would probably be Gosport, where all my family's from. But in the town where I live, Basingstoke, we now have 5, count them, 5 McDonald's. 2 of which are drive-throughs, and 2 of which have opened in the last 6 months. One of which is like half a mile from my house, and which opened Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So I am wondering whether I should just go to McDonald's on the way home, because it's not really a detour. It's literally in my way, so to speak. He had very bright lights. 5 McDonald's, right? And Basingstoke's not a very large town, not really. Getting bigger all the time. I mean, everywhere I go, there's houses being built. Like literally everywhere I go, there's new house construction. And they're saying there's not enough house construction. It's bloody everywhere where I am. And not just in my town either. Like everywhere I go. On the way here, new houses. On the way home, admittedly, different route today, because I had to take a detour this morning because, as you know, because of the half marathon, right? So different route. They're new houses. There are new houses going up everywhere. So just another minor observation that I thought I'd make. What do you think, Clive? Clive doesn't speak very much, but as we've established, he has no vocal cords, or a brain in fact, and he's just made of plastic. But that's not the point. I'm not being a skeletonist. I refuse to be skeletonist or toyist, and I refuse to deny human rights to skeletons or toys of skeletons. Skeletons are people too, or they were. And that's all I have to say on the matter, really. What should I do when I go home? I don't know yet. I am heavily inclined towards the McDonald's idea at the moment. Although Liz will probably moan at me. But I am heavily inclined to go there on the way home. Haven't been to the one in Chinham yet, so I do need to complete the set. So I'm only 60% complete so far. There's one in town, and there's 2 drive-throughs, and the new one in Chinham, and the new one at home. So, what is that rattling? There's a rattling noise going on. And I don't know what it is. Oh, that's very irritating. Not heard that before. Anyway, shut up now, Andrew. Bit darker now. Thought I'd try this new camera facing forward, see what it's like. I gotta say, the actual screen looks brighter than the actual road. I can actually see my headlights better in the camera picture than I can on the road itself. And the sky is not pitch black, but it's kind of like a charcoal grey, and on my camera image it looks kind of blue. I can see that the kind of plastic fascia of the dash is kind of much brighter than it actually is in reality. It's pitch black for me. It's got a sort of slight glow to it. So I can see that this camera is doing some magic with regard to the low light. So that's pretty good, I have to say. I will at some point be doing a direct comparison of the two. But, you know, this is just kind of like a way of comparing or using it, in real life scenarios, because this is how I tend to use this camera. It's mostly mounted in the car, although I've got numerous other places I can mount it. So it's interesting to see what it does. I'll be interested to see this played back on the big screen at home. Let's try it a little bit later on when it's even darker. Of course, the irony of this vlog of mine is that back in 2018, 2019, 2020, I was working abroad in Denmark and Norway. I would do 1 week in Denmark, 1 week in Norway, 1 week in Denmark, 1 week in Norway. I would come home every weekend because I wasn't staying in one country. And of course, that would have been bloody fantastically ideal for this vlog. And the irony of this vlog is that I'll probably never have another international holiday not because of Liz, but we wouldn't be able to afford the insurance for Liz, I wouldn't have thought. It'd be ridiculous prices, and I don't like going away anyway. I did it for the family, but also I'm not working abroad anymore. Excuse me, I'm yawning. I stay mostly at home, and that's the irony, right? Is that I start this vlog during what might be possibly, maybe, perhaps the most boring part of my life. The last bit of my life as well, probably. I could have shown you some fantastic sights 5 years ago, when arguably I was probably at my peak. Anyway, that's the irony. Anyway, now it's 3 minutes past 7. It's very, very, very dark outside. The only illumination is from the screens in the car and the instruments, other cars coming towards me, and the red lights of the cars in front. And I mean, I think you can see my face. I think it's doing better than the 4, but the 4 just kind of like had like black. You couldn't see me at all. So just thought I'd try it now that it's a bit darker. Also, I'm yawning away. In another 15 minutes, I shall be home, but I am going to go to McDonald's on the way, so a little bit longer than that.
If you enjoy what I do here, although I can't think why, please remember to click the like button, smash that subscribe button, and hit the bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new video. You might also want to check out my website, www.worldsbestestpoet.com, if you fancy a laugh.